If you're interested in getting bigger and stronger legs using blood flow restriction training, then in this video, you're going to learn why exercises such as kettlebell swings, pulsed squats, Bulgarian split squats, forward backward lunges, and even thrusters are some of the best leg exercises that you can do in order to get the results that you're after. So let's get to it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. All right, bigger and stronger legs using blood flow restriction training. This is a really exciting topic and there can be a lot to unpack, but today we're just going over a quick down and dirty way to get some bigger and stronger legs using really effective exercises. Now, there are a couple of things we got to get out of the way here real quick, and then we'll kind of get into some of the concepts that we're after. But just to make sure that this video is as helpful and informative as possible for you, we just got a couple of things we got to cover real quick. So the first thing here is that this is not an in-depth video that goes over what really blood flow restriction training is, or how, when, or why to use it, or how it actually works. I am going to cover just a quick little bit of that just so you understand why I've picked some of the exercises that I have for this video, but I will be making another video that goes over all of that stuff pertaining to blood flow restriction training, because a couple of you have been asking for it in the comments and I want to deliver that for you. So if you're not subscribed to this channel and you do want to learn more about that, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell for the notification sound so that you'll know exactly when that video comes out. Now, the second thing to go over here is that when it comes to blood flow restriction training or blood flow restriction therapy, there's really two primary demographics or groups of people who will tend to use it. There can be individuals who are using it for injury rehabilitative purposes, which just means that they're using it for injury recovery to help gain strength and some function back after an injury. But I'm not covering that part of blood flow restriction in this video. But if you're interested in some of those clinical aspects and the injury rehabilitation side of things, leave a comment in the comment box below and I will gladly start producing some content on that for you. But what I'm focusing on for this video is for the second population that tends to use this training intervention, and that is an otherwise generally healthy population who wants to get bigger and stronger from muscle adaptations, but without taxing their body in really heavy and aggressive ways. And as always, if you are going to use this training intervention, just make sure it's appropriate for you. It has been shown to be rather safe in scientific literature, but not every intervention is appropriate for everyone, so you're going to need to make sure it's appropriate for you. Now, at the start of this video, I gave you 5 exercises that tend to work really well when it comes to increasing strength and size of the legs with blood flow restriction training. Now, there are a lot of other exercises that you can use, but there's a couple of reasons why I've selected these exercises. Now, the first reason is that I want this video to be as helpful as to many people as possible. And so these are exercises that can relatively be done quite easily either at home or in a gym. So if you're someone who doesn't go to a gym, you can still do these at home, but if you're someone who does go to a gym, you can still do them there. Now, the second reason, and this is really the critical reason here, is that we want to select exercises that are what we call compound movements, which just mean we're doing exercises or movements that challenge a whole bunch of muscles all in one go. And here is the key reason why. So if we were to reduce how blood flow restriction training works down into a single sentence, it would essentially be something like this. What we are doing here is we are tricking the brain into thinking that much higher intensity and a much greater amount of work have been done to the muscles than what they've actually undergone. Now, how this all essentially works is by creating what we call hemodynamic changes within the blood. Now, hemodynamic changes, just think of that as a fancy way of saying that we're just changing the environment of the blood. That's a very oversimplistic way of describing blood flow restriction training and how it works, but for a YouTube description, we're just gonna take it and run with it. So the exercises that are gonna work best for kind of creating this change in the blood that we need to elicit are exercises that basically hound and go after a whole bunch of muscles all in one go. So think of it like this. Your muscles are like car engines. And so when a muscle works, it produces movement for the body. And when an engine works in a car, it produces movement for the car. But there's always a catch to it, because in order to keep the engine running, it has to create a bunch of exhaust, which is the price you pay for keeping the engine running. And that's the same with the muscles. So when the muscles are working, they basically produce exhaust, or what we'll call metabolites, that just get deposited and build up within the blood. And so when we have a bit of extra pressure around the extremities, in this case the legs, well, we can start to kind of build up a little bit more of those what we call metabolites or substrates that kind of just change the environment of the blood. Now, the more muscles you use on a single exercise, the more exhaust that you're going to put into the bloodstream. Now, the key here is that with blood flow restriction, that kind of all just starts to build up within the extremities. And then when you've done exercises that use a whole bunch of muscles and produce a whole bunch of exhaust, and you take the restriction cuffs off, well, then the brain gets inundated with all these what we call metabolites, or just we can call it junk for a very simplistic approach. And that junk is going to bombard the brain, and the brain is going to say, wow, there's been a whole heck of a lot of intense, heavy stuff that's gone on here. I need to make sure I send out the right signaling in order to make sure the body recovers. recovers. And so what you're doing is you are creating a disproportionately favorable response for your body recovering from exercise. Now, since blood flow restriction works by building up a large collection of these metabolites within the blood, we want to do that as quickly and as effectively as possible. And that's why we just want to be going after exercises that get all sorts of muscles going in a single pass. Now, for each and every one of these exercises, the key takeaways here are that you want to make sure that you're maximizing what we call time under tension. So that, in a very simplistic sense, just refers to how long a muscle has to work for a duration of time. Now, the longer the muscles tend to work here, the more tired and fatigued they get and the more of that metabolic junk that they produce. So when it comes to any of the squatting exercises in this video or others, one of the keys that you can implement here is to make sure that you are not coming all the way up out of the bottom of a leg exercise to where you're locking your knees out straight. Locking your knees out straight will provide your muscles a quick little micro shut off and actually just makes the exercise a lot less fatiguing. So what I would recommend is as you come up from any type of squat or lunge that you do, come up only to about 80 or 90% so that you still have a soft little bend in your knee and your muscles stay engaged. This will really add up in terms of how quickly you will feel that fatigue. And that's what we're going for, because when you're feeling that fatigue, you're generating a lot of that metabolic kind of byproduct that we are after for building it up within the bloodstream. And so while I'm not going over how to do each one of these exercises in this video, because that would just lengthen out the video a bit too much, if you do want to know how to do these exercises, simply take the name of them and type them into a YouTube search or a Google search, and you will get all sorts of great video and content that will pop up and walk you through how to do these exercises. Again, just make sure that you are confident when doing them so that you're going to be as safe as possible with any of these movements that you try. Also, keep in mind that when you do these exercises, you can do them with just body weight, you can do them with dumbbells, with kettlebells or barbells or whatever else is going to be appropriate for you. And I would say that for the vast majority of people, just doing this with body weight alone is going to suffice just fine. Another thing that I would say here is that if you want to make sure you're using an effective way to train with these exercises, that you use what's called the 30-15-15-15 protocol. Now, this just refers to the number of repetitions that you do for each set. So you do 4 sets for a single exercise. And this protocol has been studied widely within literature, and it's one that's often used the most when looking at the effects that blood flow restriction training can produce for both size and strength of muscle function. So when you do this, you basically do the repetitions of that set, then you take a 30-second break, and then do the next set, 30-second break, and so on. So 30 repetitions, you take a 30-second break, 15 repetitions, take a 30-second break until you're done all 4 sets. Now, if you're sitting here and you're wondering why on leg exercises I've included an exercise that uses the arms, which is the thruster exercise, well, the reason being is that if we're after just accumulating as much metabolic junk in the body as possible, well, we might as well get the arms going as well. And so by doing squatting exercises and leg dominant exercise, we build up that junk within the legs, but we can also build it up within the arms. And the cool thing is that even if the arms don't work all that hard, all that extra junk that's going to get built up is going to help influence the brain to release a disproportionately favorable response throughout the entire body, which will continue to help strengthen the legs. So don't be afraid to slap some cuffs around your arms and get your arms going while you do your leg exercises, because the more metabolic byproduct you have built up within your body, the more that's just going to help generate the appropriate response to get your legs bigger and stronger. And the last thing that I would say here is that if you do want to try blood flow restriction training, if it is safe for you to do so, well, then you can try different types of bands in order to do this. Now, there's pros and cons depending on which type of band you use, but if you want something simple and inexpensive, for example, if you're just starting out, you can use something like powerlifting knee wraps or even compression flossing bands. Those tend to work and get the job done. If you want something that's a little bit more ideal in terms of dialing in precise pressure and maximizing comfort, you can look at pneumatic systems. My recommendation is always the Be Strong system. I've been using it for years. I've had great success with it on myself and the patients that I treat in the clinic. And if you are interested in picking up some of those cuffs, I can get you 10% off using the coupon code that I'll put in the description box below. Now, that is an affiliate link, and by no means am I trying to push a sale on you, but if you do want to pick up some cuffs, you might as well save 10%. And I just use those commissions to help grow this channel a bit more and reinvest that money to make sure I'm giving you guys all the content you deserve. Now, if you did find this video to be useful, helpful, informative, educational, or enjoyable in any sort of way, feel free to hit that like button. That would mean a lot to me. And if you want to make sure that you're not missing the content that I'm putting out, feel free to subscribe as well. But even simply hitting that like button really does mean a lot to me. It's an absolute joy and honor to deliver content for all of you. It really is. And so anytime I see people hitting that like button, it just reaffirms to me that I'm delivering content that is helpful, and it helps me just get fired up to get the next video out all that much quicker. So with all that being said, everyone, you know how it goes. Keep looking after yourselves, keep looking after one another, keep making great things happen, and I will see you in the next video.